Live from the press box in the Stadium of Dreams, this is the show with the latest information on the world of American soccer. If it's happening in MLS or around the globe, we have it right here. You're now outside the box with Yanks Abroad.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is your host, Christopher McCollum, welcoming you to another episode of Outside the Box with Yanks Abroad. You know, this is a special time of year. It's summertime. The weather is beautiful. But there's no soccer going on, really. Well, we've got Major League Soccer, but that entertains us for a couple of days a week. But there's none of the European leagues on. Few of the leagues south of the border have any games happening. So there's just not a whole lot to really build a show upon right now. And of course, we've got silly season happening, all the transfer speculation, rumors, a whole lot of gossip mongering happening. You know, you've got so much speculation surrounding the moves of so many high-profile players, you don't even really know where to start. And I'm not even talking about Edinson Cavani, for example. Of course, it looks like his fate has possibly been sealed with a $75 million bid in from PSG. So we'll see what happens with that. But with some of the Americans, you know, there's reportedly been interest in Michael Bradley's services from Verona over in Italy. There's a whole host of speculations surrounding Jozy Altidore, of course. He is the big hot topic this summer, same as Clint Dempsey was the hot topic last summer. You know, it took Dempsey until the last day of the window for Tottenham to buy his services from Fulham, but I don't think it's going to take that long for Altidore to find his new team. You know, they're going to want him to get into the groove of the team, into their preseason training. But who is that team going to be? You know, it's reports are surfacing that Sunderland may be actually leading the charge for Altidore. Supposedly, they're in advanced talks with AZ, according to technical director Ernie Stewart. So, would Sunderland actually be a good fit for Altidore? You know, there are a lot of people who want him to go back to England and try to improve upon his loan spell that he had at Hull City a few years ago. But you know what? I think it's a bad idea. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. You know, even if advanced talks are happening right now, advanced talks fall through all the time for a host of reasons. And personally, I think that if these advanced talks are actually happening between the Sunderland camp and between Jozy's camp, I think they're going to fall through as well. And the reason I think that is I simply see that it's not a good fit for Altidore to go to Sunderland. Now, this is not necessarily a slight against Sunderland for me. I've always actually had a soft spot in my heart for Sunderland, going back all the way to the days when Claudio Reyna was wearing the white and red stripes. And, you know, Claudio being one of my favorite American players of all time, I'm going to be a fan of almost any team that he played for. I will just say almost. But Sunderland, of course, is a team that I've always been fond of ever since they won that promotion battle those years ago with Reyna. So why would I not want Altidore to go there? It's simple. It's for the national team, of course. Altidore can really do whatever he wants in his professional career, but I'm concerned about the prospects of the U.S. national team. I'm concerned about the goals lying ahead. I'm concerned about results in Brazil. I'm concerned about what happens down the road for the U.S. and how Altidore's progress at the club level is going to alter the path that the national team takes. Now, what would happen to him if he went to Sunderland? Now, the reason I don't think it's a good fit is because I simply see the style of play at Sunderland being a little bit too similar to the past year and a half of the U.S. national team underneath Jurgen Klinsmann. I see it as being a little bit too direct. I see it as being a little bit too long ball happy. I see it as focusing on a sole striker up at the top of the field, a target man, and then just hoping the pieces of the puzzle fall into place around him. With Altidore, that simply does not seem to work. We saw the dearth in goals over the past year and a half until finally the past month, when the style of play has spread out to the wings, with Fabian Johnson moving up, with Graham Zusi playing well over on the right side. We've been able to see the attention move away from Altidore as a lone figurehead of the offense. And this is what happened with him at AZ as well, even though he was the focal point of the attack over in Holland, even though he scored all the goals, basically all the goals, even though that he was the number one attacking fixture on that team, one of the deadliest strikers in the league. He had so much talent surrounding him on the wings, so many other players who could do something with the ball if they absolutely had to, who could be threats in their own way, that could not simply lock down Altidore. Not to mention the defense over there was simply so weak in general that even if 2, sometimes even 3 defenders were trying to post up Altidore, then he would simply muscle them out of the way and score anyway. A lot of memorable goals that way. But I don't see that happening in England. I see the defensive structures over there, top to bottom of the league, as being too strong for that style of play. And the style of play that would be required of Altidore to succeed the way he has over in the Eredivisie, Sunderland simply does not have it. So I think that Altidore would be more successful in England this time around than he was when he was on loan at Hull City, but I don't see it as being a success in the greater sense of the word. I think that he would score some goals. I think he would get some assists. I think he would help Sunderland improve upon their rather abysmal finish to last season, down towards the bottom of the table. But I don't see it as being a good fit. I see him going elsewhere. Where that is, I have no idea. Everybody has their speculation. Everybody has the rumors. I have my own speculation. But you know what? It's simply my own personal speculation. I'm not going to put it on the air because it's unfounded. It's simply my own wishes, so to speak. But suffice to say, I don't see him going to Sunderland as being a good move. I could be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. But we'll see as the future unfolds. But this is just a short little special episode. This is not a full-length episode. And I've said all I'm going to say about the transfer speculations surrounding Josie Altidore until more information comes out later this week, later next week, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. Whenever this finally finishes unfolding, we'll have a show with a segment dedicated to the Josie Altidore transfer saga. But until then, it's rather pointless to kind of beat the dead horse, so to speak. It's rumor, it's speculation, it's gossip. We don't have any hard facts, so there's not a whole lot to report on. So because of that, this is just a short little special episode, and this special episode is going to feature an interview with a couple of our favorite guys playing over abroad. And that would be Giuseppe Funicello and Chuk Chijindu playing over in Iceland with Thor. Obviously, the team name is Thor. Thor America, as some people are coming to call them, because they've got 3 Americans on the team, joined, of course, also by Josh Wicks, who is not able to join us for this interview, but he will be featured in a print interview coming up over at Yanks Abroad, being written up by RJ DeMello. So, I'm going to be joined by Brian Sciaretta and RJ DeMello on the lines, as well as Chuck and Joe. They're going to be coming on to the next segment coming up here in a couple of minutes after a short little break and play. But this is one of those special episodes that I hope you're going to enjoy. And we've got a lot of national team games coming up. We've got games against Guatemala. We've got games against Belize, a game against Cuba, against Costa Rica. There's 4 games coming up over the next couple of weeks. So there's going to be plenty of stuff for us to be talking about. Performances to be breaking down, match analyses, whatever the case may be. It's coming up. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be putting the roundtable back together to break down everything happening with the U.S. national team in this upcoming Gold Cup. And there's even rumors on the horizon that there's going to be an on-location show coming from East Hartford, Connecticut, prior to the U.S. Costa Rica game. It seems as though the stars are aligning. And there's going to be several of us writers from Yanks Abroad, several of us involved in the radio show, and other writers who are not involved in the show, who are all going to be converging on Connecticut. And we may all just be getting on the air to preview that game on location. Maybe at the stadium, maybe somewhere else. We don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll even be able to find somebody to drag on the air with us to help us preview it. I don't know. But there's a lot coming up over the next couple of weeks. But for today's episode, Tuesday, July 2nd, 2013, we simply have an interview for you. We hope you're going to enjoy it. We're going to drag it out as long as we can. We hope you're going to have as much fun as we anticipate having. So we're going to head off to a break and play right now, and then we are going to welcome aboard Joe and Chuk to tell us about life in Iceland. So stay tuned, everybody. On the other side of this short little break and play, I'm going to be joined by Brian, I'm going to be joined by RJ, and of course, the guests of honor, Chuk and Joe. And they're going to be telling us everything there is to know about playing in Iceland. So stay tuned, everybody, and thank you, as usual, for tuning in. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Outside the Box with Yanks Abroad. I am your host, Christopher McCollum, joined on the air by Brian Sciaretta, and we've also got joining us on the line from Iceland, Giuseppe Funicello and Chuk Chijindu. How are you guys doing tonight? Joe, how's it going?
Doing well. Enjoying the weather here. It's been surprisingly nice, so doing well.
Excellent. And Chuk, how about you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Basically, to reiterate what Joe said, it's getting warmer here, so that always helps.
You know, Joe is an old stalwart listener of this show. You know, he's actually been one of our call-in contributors as well. I mean, we were previewing a national team game a while back, and this was the first night that we were actually taking phone calls. And all of a sudden, the lines blew up, and we had like 8 people on standby answering the phone with one hand, talking with the other hand. Well, actually talking out of my mouth, you know, but kind of controlling the mouse with one hand and controlling the phone line with the other. And somebody starts talking and is acting all familiar with us. And finally, I asked this man who it was, and he says, "Oh, it's Joe Funicello." I'm like, "Oh, no way! We've got a soccer player calling in. This is the first time we've taken call-ins, and we've got a pro player calling in." This is Outside the Box with the Yanks Abroad. So it was a lot of fun. So
yeah,
Joe,
we
I'm
also
very
had
glad to get you back on the air.
We had John Stolmeyer on the show too, who played in the World Cup in 1990. So he was also on the round table. So it was like we were bombarded with it was just a wild and unpredictable night.
Yeah,
well, I think you guys did a great job. Even before I was a Yanks Abroad, I'd follow the website. So you guys have done a great job, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So thank you for that opportunity.
Yeah, no problem.
And actually,
we love having you on.
You know, Jeremy Pond called in that night as well. That was just a heck of a night. It was an all-star cast of call-ins for sure. So, you know, let's start things off. I want to ask you guys how your season is going so far. The season's only a few games in. Chuk, you're scoring goals left and right. I want to get your perspective on how the season's going so far, and then Brian's going to jump in here and ask some questions as well. But Joe, let's just start with you. How do you think the season's going so far? And then I'll ask the same question to Chuk.
I think it's going well. I mean, we didn't have Chuk the first 3 games, and that definitely showed. So we started slow, but as Chuk came in, you can tell the impact he's made, and we're mid-table now, and we're playing a lot better. So season's going well. It's still so early, but we're definitely on the rise, which is good.
Mm-hmm. And Chuk, how do you think the season's going?
Yeah, I agree. I think it started off a little bit rocky, but I think the guys are starting to gel. People are starting to come together in the locker room as well, and that's starting to show on the field. I think some of our results have been a little bit unlucky. The score wasn't telling the tale of how we were playing and how the games were. So I definitely think we're improving, and you know, we have a lot of work to go. It's still early, but you know, I think it's going fairly well for where we're at right now on the table.
All right. And Chuk, you've got 3 goals in your first 5 games. Do you think you're going to be able to keep up this torrid pace? What's the key to unlocking the Icelandic defenses up there?
I mean, that's always the goal, you know. I mean, for the position I play, that's always the goal. But for me, honestly, I try not to put too much pressure on myself. I try to relax, and I just try to play free and do what I know, like, naturally. I mean, me being a psych major, I kind of learned along the way that when you try too hard to get something or achieve something, if I tell myself I need to score, I feel like you get the reverse effect sometimes. So the main thing for me is just to go into the games relaxed and clear-headed and just try to do what I've been doing my whole life.
And Christopher, I just want to just jump in and add something real quick, and this isn't really a question, but Chuk, your 3 goals on the season is good enough for some. You know, you're in the scoring leaders chart there in Iceland, and you're the only non-Icelandic player with 3 or more goals. So that's certainly something to follow. I mean, how's the press treating you over there?
I mean, it hasn't been too crazy, to be honest. The press is. I think maybe if I was at the top or something, maybe they would say something. But it hasn't been too crazy. I know they have like a little review show they do, but for me, it's just I just watch it for the film. I don't know Icelandic, so I don't really understand anything they're saying. But I mean, it's definitely a goal of mine to try to stay, in the top tier of the goals. And I'm just going to keep working hard and see where the season takes me.
And I know RJ, another Yanks Abroad writer, excellent writer here at Full Volley and Yanks Abroad, is on our panel tonight, and I understand he has some questions. RJ, what's going on?
Yeah, no, I've been checking in, following in with you guys, and I'm kind of interested. We mentioned before it's before the show that 3 Americans at one team is kind of it's always going to be newsworthy. I'm interested. How did this aspect come about? Was it one guy and I know somebody from back home who can play, or did you guys kind of just all end up there on your own?
It was like this. I was here in 2010 before I got transferred to Finland. And I played with Josh in Finland, so I brought him over. I told my coach about him, and they got in contact and brought him over. And then Chuk was the same way. I knew someone that Chuk knew, and I knew Chuk because he went to UConn, and I'm from Connecticut. And I know he was a great player, and I followed him a little bit too. So I asked our mutual friend if he'd be interested, or if he knew someone that would be a striker that would be interested in coming over, and they brought Chuk over. And it's been great. I mean, when he came last year, it was the reason why we got promoted. I wish he would have came during the Europa League. I think we would have done better in the Europa League qualifiers if he would have came over. But that's how we all came over to Iceland. I left Real Maryland and came here in 2010. So that's really the road we all took to get here.
So you're kind of a de facto front office man at the club then, bringing in a couple of players for him, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they've asked me if I knew any players to strengthen the team, and I had to, I had to bring over some Americans. So
you could bring over a 4th guy? That would put you guys up there in like really uncharted territory.
No, but I did bring over Chris Tonius, who went to New Hampshire University. He's playing in the 1st division. I brought over a couple Americans over here that are playing in the lower leagues. So, but no one else to our team.
We always come up with these names of or nicknames of teams that have multiple Americans on them. You've got Full America for a while. You got T1 America right now down in Mexico. So is Thor becoming Thor America up there?
Last year we definitely were. I mean, last year it's still early now, but we got a lot of USA chants wherever we went. So
that's pretty awesome.
Becoming that.
So I want to ask a question about the general soccer atmosphere up there. Iceland right now, they're involved in they're neck and neck with Albania in World Cup qualifying. What's the overall environment and atmosphere like up there as Iceland's trying to qualify for Brazil next year?
Actually, obviously the guys on the team that are Icelandic, they follow the national team really closely. I haven't been able to watch any of their games, but I think the football here is definitely growing. I think the importance of the sport to people is growing. Just in the country, I know handball is a really important sport, and football's up there as well. So just from the general aspect of the growth of the sport, you see it in the quality that's coming over to the league. You got guys like David James coming over, though he's at the end of his career. I mean, still a quality player, been an EPL regular,
Nigel Kwashi from Portsmouth.
Yeah, there was rumor Benjani was going to come over, and he's played at big clubs like Portsmouth and Man City. So I mean, just the general growth of the club level, I think that's significant and indicative of how the national level is growing here. Just the fact that the country is able to attract, bigger names.
Yeah. And a lot of youth players move on from Iceland and go over to Holland or Denmark or England. So the sport's pretty big and it's growing. I mean, I was here in 2010 and it didn't get as much coverage. But now, I mean, it's definitely grown a lot more since then.
Well, what's funny is, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Icelandic soccer, pretty much because Aaron Johansson looks like a guy who's grew up through the Icelandic system, but he might file his one-time switch to play for the United States because he's eligible, and he plays in Holland and the Eredivisie, and he was one of the leading scorers in the Danish Superliga before he transferred in the winter break. But when you look at like where they are as a population and look at their performance, it's per capita one of the strongest footballing countries in the world. I mean, 300,000 people like this, and then you look at the lineup of where their players are. It's actually phenomenal.
Right. Now, I think I agree. When you think about the number of people they have here and just the fact that they're able to compete with a lot of the bigger nations, that's a big accomplishment. And, I mean, you look at guys now, I mean, you got Aaron Gunnarsson, he's getting promoted to the Premier League. Gylfi Sigurdsson's playing, had a huge impact with Swansea last year and with Tottenham this year. I mean, just the fact that some of those guys are making it to the top level of football, and you think of, like you said, the per capita here in the country, I think that kind of, sends pretty big waves around the world about the football growing here.
And Aaron Gunnarsson, who's the captain of the Icelandic national team, and he's with Cardiff, and he just got promoted to the Premier League. He actually is from this town that we were playing in, and he trains with us all the time. I mean, he just got injured, unfortunately, but he's always training with us, and we talked about that. He definitely sees Iceland growing, and the football is getting better, the facilities are getting better, so it's definitely a country on the uprise.
Here's a question for you guys, though. Now, you guys have a pretty good point of reference with this. I know, Chuk, you spent some time with Chivas USA, correct? And
Correct.
Joe, you've trained with the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
What is the? How would you describe? And you guys have both played NCAA soccer. Where would you describe, and using some kind of American thing as a point of reference, the quality of play in the Icelandic Premier League?
I mean, I've been fortunate enough actually to play in all three levels in America. So I would say when you look at it, a general consensus, I think it's equivalent to NASL, USL. It's anywhere between there. I mean, obviously you have your Orlando Cities who always run away with it, so to speak. And then you have your smaller teams like the Dayton Dutch Lions and Antigua and teams like that are like always fighting for the bottom, but there's just no relegation system there. So I think when you look at it, it's the same type of aspect here where you have FH and KR always going to be fighting for the top, and then in the middle part of the bracket, there's so much parity. And then from the bottom, it can go either way. So I definitely think the level is equivalent to that. It just depends on the year and the type of talent you bring in and how they gel. And I think you could look at the final table from last year in the top division here. I mean, 3 points here, 3 points there. You could flop 5-6 teams in position-wise at the table. So I think that kind of shows the parity.
So you guys hang out a lot together off the field? It seems like you guys are pretty close over there, being the three Americans.
Me and Joe live together, so.
Yeah, so
it's such a small town. I mean, literally, Josh is not less than a minute drive away.
yeah.
So, I mean.
And the thing is, to go back to that, I agree with Chuk. It's a lot like NASL or USL, but the style of play is so different. It's more direct. So us being Americans, we stick together. In terms of we're just used to each other's culture, and it makes it easier. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. RJ, what do you think? Oh, sorry, Christopher.
I was going to draw a parallel here between some of the guys in Finland I've spoken to, and they talk about that they're able to come together and they're able to share the American culture together to exist as a niche inside of the Scandinavian culture that they're still trying to get to grips with. The language is hard to learn. It's colder than they've ever been in their life for most of the year. And they say it's almost like being back in university. Even a few years out of university, it's like getting that university experience again, that bonding experience. So would that be how you would describe it over there?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I would think something similar to that. It's pretty tight-knit. It's small. So I guess because the town is so small, it's equivalent to, I guess, the campus, so to speak, which is kind of funny to say. But, UConn, the school I went to, has almost the amount, or probably more, people on campus, undergrad, than the town I'm in. So, yeah, I guess it's equivalent in that aspect. Language is definitely difficult, hard to learn. I've been to other countries, and I've picked up the language a lot quicker. But, yeah, I definitely think having two Americans here made the transition so much easier. I mean, I talked to Joe about when he was here by himself, and I think he would even say he was completely different being alone in a different culture like this. So I mean, I was fortunate enough to come when there was already 2 Americans, so the transition was so much easier, and they were able to tell me how the league worked, how the team worked, and just certain things you might have to learn on your own that might take a few weeks or so. Mm-hmm. I was able to learn that a lot quicker.
My question is over there is a lot of times American soccer is not completely understood by people in Europe. Some people understand it's growing, other people don't. Other people think it's they don't think Americans have any kind of concept of soccer. Or some people hear about Major League Soccer and they see some of the stars that have that are going over there and they're curious about it. Have people asked you a lot about what it's like and what soccer's like back in the United States? Is there some kind of curiosity between you guys? I mean, Joe, I know you're from Italy, but you're raised in the U.S. But is there some kind of curiosity with what you with how American soccer works and what you guys came from?
Yeah, I mean, I played in a lot of different countries, and they always ask. I mean, here some of the younger guys ask about university and schools and what it's like. And then in Finland, when I played in Finland, they'd always ask, I'd love to go play in America. Can you hook it up and talk to any team? So I definitely think America is definitely on the upcoming in soccer, and a lot of people are taking notice. I mean, you take the USL, there's so many UK players playing in the USL and ASL, even in MLS. So people are definitely curious about it.
And, well, just one more quick question, really, about Thor and their season. Newly promoted, I know they went to the Europa the year before, even though you were in the second division down. But you're back in the Premier League, mid-table right now. What is this team's? What do you expect from the team, and what do you think it can achieve this year?
I expect a lot, just because I put a lot of expectation on myself, and anything I want to be a part of in any thing in life. If you have goals you want to reach, it usually only happens when you're around successful teams, people, and so be it. So I definitely think if we want to reach our goals in terms of continuing to move up the ladder in the football world, it only really happens if you're part of a successful group, and so that really happens with hard work and just staying together as a team. And so basically, to answer your question, I think we can finish in the top half of the table. I think we can contend with the top teams who seem to always run away with it. I draw on a lot of my experiences from the MLS and how difficult of a league it is to play in, that people don't give enough credit for. The traveling. Playing 2 games in a week in MLS is completely different playing 2 games in a week here, when you have to worry about flying, recovery from the flight, the jet lag, the time difference. It's just so much different, and I draw on those experiences when I played in MLS here, and it really helps me to be a good professional and just try to help the team the best that I can. And I really want us to finish top half of the table or better, and just continue to strive to reach our goals as individuals. But I think that happens if we we do well as a team.
And I agree. I think finishing in the top half of the table is definitely a goal that can be reached. So we have the talent. We definitely do. We've played the top teams, and the score doesn't really tell the tale of how the match went. I definitely think we can hang with them and like Chucky said, finish top half of the table. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I wouldn't count us out of trying to qualify for Europe. I mean, I don't think it's that far away.
Well, listen, I mean, I guess we're going to have to wrap this thing up. This is a great segment here for the podcast, guys. But listen, real quickly, how the hot springs treating you over there? I heard that's a big attraction over there in Thor.
I actually haven't been to them yet, but
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Joe and Josh have been. I haven't been to them yet. I'm trying to find some time to go. But
hey, have you guys ever visited Iceland?
No, I have never. I would like to.
But this leads me to my last question, and this is a kind of a joking one. But one of my good friends visited Iceland about 10 years ago. Fell in love with the place. Fell in love with the woman. Stayed there.
Yep.
Had a kid. Turned half Icelandic himself. Has that happened to you guys?
I mean, Chucky steals them all from me, so I don't know. He's got all the girls here. No, but the women here are beautiful.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm becoming half Icelandic, but I can definitely concur that they're very attractive.
Yeah. You guys get a chance, come out.
All right, we'll have to hop on the plane.
All right, RJ, you have any other questions, or are we here done with the podcast?
I had one other one.
What's up?
Going back to the town you guys are in, I looked it up. The population is less than my hometown, which I thought was small. It's like not even 18,000 people. Do you already know everybody, Chuk, or are you almost there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been here a lot shorter than Joe and Josh, so I definitely don't know everybody. I think it's just hard because I think more people, obviously, when you're playing, more people are aware of you than you are of them. So you meet so many people at a time. It's kind of difficult to. I mean, I remember faces, but it's difficult to remember like where you met them or how you met them. So, I mean, I'm familiar with a lot of people's faces, but I wouldn't say that I like know them.
Well, I mean, listen, what's cool is if you guys get, your stadium is like, what, 1,000, 1,500 people? I mean, if you fill that, that's a considerable size of the population that's going to the games.
No, I'm pretty sure when we have games, last year when we played the rival team, it's like triple the amount what the stadium holds. Wow. So like pretty much close to a third of, or less than a third of the entire town was at the game. So
that's the Azteca of Iceland.
Appreciate their football.
That's awesome. I love it when like, here in New York, if you could sell out like the New Meadowlands Stadium, and that's not even like a millionth of the population in the area, but it's something when just about everyone goes to these things. That's just a completely different level of passion.
Yeah, and the town is split into two teams, so everyone pretty much follows both teams, so it's pretty good.
All right, guys. So, Christopher, what do you think? I think this has been a great segment. We have to have you guys back on.
Yeah, you're gonna have to turn into regular panelists yourselves. I know the time difference might not work that well, but every once in a while, if you're getting up really, really early on a Tuesday, or I guess it'd be Wednesday for you, let us know. We'll try to get you on the air again.
Sounds good, man. We both follow Yanks Abroad, and we love what you guys do. So if we can, why not?
All right. Well, thank you again very much, both of you, for coming on the air and speaking with us for this segment. We've enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Hope all of our listeners out there enjoyed it. If you have any questions that you want us to ask these guys for next time we have them on the air, be sure to tweet them at us. Joe, you're on Twitter, aren't you?
Yep. FuniBoy18.
All right.
FUNI Boy 18.
All right. And Chuk, are you on Twitter?
Yeah, I am. You can follow me at it's Chukmate, ITSCHUCKMATE, and then Instagram is just Chukmate as well. So
I'm gonna go follow you right now.
Yeah, me too. All right, thank you guys very much for coming on the air and joining us tonight. Appreciate it. It's been a good time, and we'll look forward to having you back on again sometime.
Anytime, much appreciated.
Thank you guys, we appreciate it.
All right. All right, we're going to go off to a quick commercial break, and we'll be back for the concluding segment of Outside the Box with Yanks Abroad here in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned, everybody. So there you have it. Interview wrapped up with Giuseppe Funicello and Chuk Chijindu, telling us what it's like playing over there in Iceland. It's very good having them on the show. But unfortunately, that's bringing our time to a close. I want to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of Outside the Box with Yanks Abroad. As usual, tune into our website, yanks-abroad.com. Follow us on Twitter, @yanksabroad. Also, be sure to follow us for MLS coverage over at Full Volley. And we'll try to keep you updated with everything that we can possibly keep you updated with. Now, we've got a lot of content coming to you over the next couple of weeks as the Gold Cup comes underway. We've got interviews with a number of players. We've got match analysis. We've got a lot of things coming up that you're going to want to read. And we've also got new episodes of Outside the Box coming up, and we're going to have the whole crew back together. Well, hopefully the whole crew. We're still waiting on trying to get everybody back at the table who is usually at the table. There's so many different commitments going on with interviews, with other projects. It's difficult to have everybody on the exact same schedule, but you know what? I'll be back here with you. Brian will be back with you, and we're going to have Jamie and John, and hopefully Matthew Wagner is going to be joining us to tell us everything that's going on over in Norway these days. We're going to have a lot to talk about over the coming weeks. So We'll see you next time out there in the listening world. Thank you once again for tuning in. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything of that nature, be sure to send them to us over at the Yanks Abroad website or tweet them to us at Yanks Abroad. You can also find me personally on Twitter at CK McCollum. That's CKMCCOLLUM. And, of course, also Brian Sciaretta, one of the best writers in the soccer world as far as I'm concerned. So there you have it, everybody. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day, everybody.